The head in, feet out drills are great to use in any type of defense with a zone. This is when your head is in towards the center of the pool or the 2-meter position and your legs are facing where you want to go. This allows you to step over your legs and gaining ground in your offensive player. So many times a defensive player is swimming out to the guy, which takes less time as well as less pressure. With this big lunge and up and over your hips, it allows the breaststroke kick to get you there quicker and more explosive. The above water camera should illustrate this the best with the opposite hand, or the hand that's in the water. You'll see him lead with that hand and step out in front of him to lead in the direction that he wants to go. Now in the underwater cameras, you're going to see the body in a horizontal position prior to the drill starting. You'll notice the defender steps over his legs. His upper body goes to his legs, not his legs drop underneath his lower body. This allows him to gain ground on that offensive player, to put more pressure and less time for him to think. The last and probably the most important thing is putting the player down. You don't want to put your player down with your shot blocking hand. Keep that up. Once you drop that hand, the offensive player can shoot over you. Keep that field blocking hand up and hit him with the leading hand, the hand that's working hard for you underwater. So a lunge KO, just like in our foul to lunge KO, is when we're a little bit closer distance to our defender. And all we need is one big lunge over our head in, feet out. And our goal is to hit that throwing arm. Don't just hit the body. Big, strong players can absorb a hit on the body and still get a shot off. Your job is to hit with that leading hand, hit that elbow, that way you can disrupt the shot. And at the same time, your field blocking hand is taking your side of the cage. Again, I want to point out the upper body moving to and over the legs, not the legs dropping down in the vertical. This is very important. This makes you and allows you to get out to that offensive player quicker and get a hold of him. Here you see the X3 player do a phenomenal job of lunge KO, moving out over his hips, putting him underwater. Notice one hand is knocking the ball down while the other is shot blocking. Crossover steal is a great time to use late in the game when you need the ball back in your possession. The crossover steal is when the player is in the vertical and he's paying attention or trying to slow the game down and maintaining control of the ball. The best way for a crossover steal is to fake that you're going to put both hands up, and at the last second, your inside hand is going to go across his lower back or mid back, pulling him into you, and with your outside hand going across his body with a big breaststroke kick, you're touching that ball or reaching for that ball. Notice here, put a little pressure on his shoulder. When you put pressure on his shoulder, the offensive player has a tendency to drop down and try to get a quick foul. When you notice him going underwater, lift both hands up at the last second, and you'll see how this defender, as soon as his hands come up, he reaches up and around and reaches for that ball with a big breaststroke kick. Notice how the player is showing his hands and the offensive player is faking a call or looking for a call. As the player looks for the call, he buries his head and the defensive player wraps and grabs up and over him with a big breaststroke kick, moving the offensive player a little bit to the side as he reaches for the ball. This is a great steal. Now the crossover steal in the horizontal position is when a player is releasing for the ball in a horizontal swim, or the two-stroke release that we worked on earlier. And in this position, the defensive player is going to sit back and wait for that pass and anticipate that pass. Now the offensive player's hips are right in front of him. So with that inside hand, he can stroke over those hips and reach for the ball over the defender. That swim stroke looks like a normal swim stroke. It doesn't look like he's coming across or pulling him or dragging him underwater. This is a very disguised steal, and it works often in games. The underwater camera shows that hand from the defender going on top of the hips and pulling himself across to make that steal. In your defensive perimeter game, I can't reiterate how important it is to learn to control your offensive player. Play a chess game with them by keeping your hips up, protecting your body, not being grabbed, as well as being able to move in and out, rotating over your hips. It's extremely important that you really utilize your breaststroke kick more than your egg beater. This is a more powerful, explosive, and quick opportunity to knock down somebody in the perimeter game. So right here is forearm absorb. Your body's in a horizontal position, almost in a stepping position in a driver defense. Notice his forearm is on the shoulder of the offensive player, but his hand is off the player. You're trying to show the referee that you are not fouling or controlling or holding him, but you are maintaining contact. In this drill, you'll notice that the offensive player is pushing the defensive player back, but you're okay with that because you're in control of him. Now, if you also notice is that the body stays in horizontal position, so when the offensive player does come back like a rear back or receive the ball, the legs are in proper position to breaststroke kick back on top of the offensive player to foul or control that offensive player. Now we have some clips to show you that are improper clips on what you're doing wrong. One of the biggest tendencies here is when the defensive player drops his hips down in the vertical, the offensive player has the ability to go left, right, or step away and create distance. Now the defensive player, when the offensive player does those motions, has to get his body back up in the horizontal to catch or gain ground on that offensive player. It's a slower process. It's a two-step process compared to keeping your hips up and having it one-step process.